This is Quercus agrifolia, probably the most common live oak in San Diego County. It's got cup-shaped leaves, leaves that are cupped round on the top, so the direct rays of the sun are deflected slightly. The cupping also allows the underneath part where gases are exchanged and water can be released. It is sort of protective of that. The outer rounder surface is for photosynthesizing. It's loaded with special chlorophyll cells, often in 3 layers. It also is designed so when the wind blows it can lose some of the heat that's a result of the processing of carbohydrates. You'll notice also that the underneath part of the leaf is sort of hidden. So when the wind blows on the top and removes heat, it is not removing heat from the underneath side. The air is captured under there, moisture is preserved. So the little hairs and the dead air space underneath is a special feature and allows this tree to do well in arid environments. Another feature of this special leaf, the leaf cuticle is tough, like your fingernail. So your fingernail doesn't lose water. Quercus agrifolia leaves, they also don't lose water. The outer leaves near the top of the tree have 2, maybe 3 layers of photosynthetic cells so they can really soak up the sun and crank out the carbohydrates of photosynthesis. The leaves deeper in the tree in shady areas are a little bit smaller with less cupping, and they have less of the photosynthetic material. So they still are able to photosynthesize, but they don't churn it out like the leaves on the outer surface. The reproduction of the tree includes male catkins. Catkins are long, dangly structures with flowers, male flowers producing pollen. The female flowers are not on catkins. The female flowers are found down in the axils of the twigs, and the female flowers, pollinated by the pollen from the catkins, hopefully of some other tree, is where the acorns develop. So the female flowers become acorns, and the male flowers produce the pollen, and catkins will drop off quickly. Acorns will persist in this tree for a year. In other trees in the area, a 2-year span for the development of the acorns. Shawi is the word for the acorn mush produced from the acorns. The acorns of this oak used with the acorns of Kellogg oak, common in the area. The number 1 oak was the Kellogg. The number 2 oak was Quercus agrifolia. These little marks on the bark of this coast live oak, that they're in a row, those were put there by a sapsucker, a bird that chips into this oak, into the cambium layer, and it oozes sap. So the bird can come back next week, couple of days, and suck up the sap that oozes from the tree. And this is evidence of something that might have occurred 100 years ago from a sapsucker on this incredibly old oak tree. Quercus agrifolia roots, right here. You can see at one time these roots covered a vast area, but even these roots aren't enough to sustain this tree. It takes the help of a group of funguses called mycorrhiza. And the mycorrhiza lives in the root hairs of this giant tree and perhaps doubles, possibly triples its ability to absorb nourishment and water. So without the mycorrhiza, this would be a sick tree. For no apparent or at least obvious reason, this tree from old age just decided to fall one day. And here it's got its roots exposed. But you need to remember that those roots had a lot of help over time with little fungus fibers that were helping in its ability to absorb water and nutrition. A lot of folks don't know that part of oak tree history. This is a tough tree, deals with the aridity in California quite well. It can be found in the mountains, doing well with the other mountain trees. It can be found down on the coast in the marine layer with lots of moisture. So they can do well in moist habitats. They can also do well in dry habitats. They're found at elevation and they're found in the lower regions. So the habitat that you can find Quercus agrifolia in is quite extensive in California. Coast live oak in the San Diego region.